Okay. So welcome everyone. Welcome to Forced Migration in the Arts. Forced Migration in the Arts is an international network that brings together people with lived experience of forced migration. And we bring together people with lived experience of forced migration, refugees, non-refugees, artists, academics, and activists who and we meet once a month to look at work that is taking place at the intersection where forced migration and the arts meet. This month, instead of having one session on the last Thursday of each of the month, we are having three sessions. One today, the next one on June the 13th, and the third on the 27th. The reason for this is because the 20th is World Refugee Day, which is marked around the world. And in the UK, the 13th, what dates? Let me check the dates. Let me double check the dates so that I am certain that I'm not saying things that are not, yeah. So in the UK, June 17 to 23 is Refugee Week. So to mark this time that we are in, that's why we decided to run this as a Refugee Month special. And for today's session, we've got Dr. Dorothy Sato, who is at the University of Louisville, who will talk to us about children and children's drawings. Dr. Sato will introduce herself and then give us a presentation around some of her work. And after that, maybe we'll have room for a few questions. So on that note, over to you, Dorothy.
Thank you, Ambrosi. And hi, everybody. I'm going to share my presentation. Just a second. I prepare a presentation for you as this is a academic, pretty much academic because I'm used to, and also because I am a visual person. So, okay, so this is by the end, it's not here that I want. Okay, can you see my screen? Yeah, all right. Okay, all right, so let's start. Yeah, my name is Dorothy Sato. I am a Brazilian citizen. Right now I'm in Rio de Janeiro, but also I live in Germany. So I spend half time there and half time here. My background is in psychology, and I have worked in organization as a human resources professional in several different industries along the years. In 2013, I moved to the United States to pursue my master's degree in human resources development as a naturopath in my field in human resource. However, I had a volunteer experience with refugees in Houston that changed my perspective on life. Syrian refugee, the Syrian children's refugee deeply moved me. They were so curious, happy, and smart. But one little girl caught my attention. She had a big eye and very shiny eyes. We couldn't communicate because of the language barrier, but we were engaged in art activities. So at that moment, everything changed. I wanted to understand her and her family's story. In my head, I asked myself why she was so happy despite the difficult circumstance that made her family migrate to the United States. That encounter was so meaningful to me that I decided to change my career and applied for a PhD in social work to study child mass migration. Moving faster in time, in 2018, I started my PhD, and in January this year, I defended my dissertation on Central America children crossing the US-Mexican border using art-based method to explore the intersection of their journey experience with religious and spiritual coping methods depicted in their drawings. So I like it to say that I am a storyteller about these children, you know. I focus my study in two groups, unaccompanied and accompanied minors. Accompanied minors are those who are, with the parents or guardians from so-called Northern Triangle countries, and specifically I study children from Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. The number of children and families crossing the America, it's so high. And here you can see in this table, you can see the numbers for 3 fiscal years. This table over here reflects what is happening around the forced migration in Central America. What are the problems students and their families face and the effects of a forced migration, and how and why these issues exist. The reasons for fleeing their countries are complex and they overlap with each other. Latino children are exposed to a variety of risk factors at individual, family, community, and societal levels during all phases of their migration trajectory. As you can see here, they are exposed to high levels of violence. Many children are forced to drop school to avoid encounters with gangs, especially girls who might be victims of sexual violence. In addition, the journey toward the north is considered highly dangerous. They usually make the journey by foot, take a car or bus, and cross rivers. The temperatures are high with a lack of water and food. They arrive at the American side, those who survive the crossing, disoriented, exhausted, and hungry. On top of this, the American migration policies tend to hold back these immigrants, add more trauma to them. So what happens when they arrive in the United States? Children and their families are apprehended at the border city called Rio Grande Valley, a border city in deep south of Texas. Children are screened to verify if they are victims of human trafficking. Afterward, they are transferred to detention centers until they are authorized to stay in the United States. According to American immigration laws, the time and length in detention centers cannot exceed 20 days. However, this time can take longer for some children and families up to 30 days. Once they are allowed to stay in the United States, they are released from the detention center and taken to the bus station to meet their families elsewhere in America, where they are authorized to wait for the determination of their final migration legal status. This is the place where the art production takes place. These drawings belong to the Arte de Lágrimas project, where Professor Dr. Cuellar, along with his wife Naomi, go to the border city and offer art production as a way to welcome them. So I would like to play a short 3-minute movie where the founders of the Arte Lágrimas project explain what the project is about. So let's see.
Sorry, Dorothy, we don't have volume. Maybe when
Sorry.
we don't have volume
Sorry.
on the, we don't have,
We don't have.
yeah. So maybe,
Oh, so maybe.
maybe when you reshare, uh, if you go on where
Online.
the mic and then change the audio settings.
So, what do you mean?
You see where there's the mic button on Zoom.
Yes.
If you hover your cursor over it, there is another menu that comes up. Maybe if you switch to same as system.
Switch the phone audio. I have here, I am in the microphone and the microphone array.
Yeah.
Should I put?
Okay. Maybe, can you see where it says select microphone?
Yeah, select microphone, yeah.
And then same as system.
Same as system, okay.
Yeah, and then same as system again, where it says select a speaker.
Same as system and the speaker?
Yeah.
Select the speaker.
Yeah, same as speaker.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's try. Let's try.
Yeah.
Oops. Oh, let's see.
Yeah.
It's working now?
No, it's not.
No.
How about if we try again, if we try sharing it again?
Yes,
sorry about this.
No, that's okay. Esther, maybe. I don't think it's working. What I can do.
Yeah.
What about that? No, not yet. So, leave the computer audio, microphone away. So probably, let me try. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna try to, oops. Let's see if it's working. If I share my, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Play the movie later. Let's see. Zoom here. Show that. Yeah. Ambrose, I don't know how to do this. Okay, let's see that.
So when first time when you share screen, it asks you to change audio settings.
I don't know where are you. Okay, share that. And okay.
Does it ask you to change?
I don't know how to do this. I'm so sorry.
Let's go back to.
Now I cannot hear you. Just a second. Okay, so microphone, so speaker. Can you hear me now?
I hear you, yeah.
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 So maybe we can skip this presentation.
Or you can explain because
Yeah.
I can hear you. Maybe if you become the voiceover.
Okay.
And just report what they're saying.
Okay. Back to my slides, share. Okay, and I have to make it bigger. So the settings of the drawings was in the base stations Those children after being in detention centers in America, they were waiting to be released by American authorities. And after release, the American authorities bring those families, children to the bus station where they're going to take the bus to go elsewhere in America to meet their families already living in America. So they are allowed to stay in America while in the process is under, evaluation, which can take years, So that moment to encounter, to go there to the bus station, Dr. Coelar, his wife, and the team go to the bus stations and offer art production. It's just a way to welcome them. It's just a way also to offer prayers and offer some emotional release, things like that. There was no an academic proposal or established like that. It was pretty much informal. So they have a team. Well, this team is there are some volunteers, and they offer a bunch of papers, white and black papers, any all the materials that they can use and use that time to draw. So they draw based on the prompts. There are 3 questions that the team ask the children, because some of them they ask and ask them, what should I draw? And the questions are, how did your home look like in your country? Who do you miss at home? And how was your crossing journey? So based on these 3 questions, children, they drill whatever they want according to their imagination. So now you can see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me bigger. Yeah. So let me continue that. This is what's all about the movie. That would be interesting if it was perfect. We can do this later. Yeah. And here, it's pretty much after the analysis of the drawings. So let's come back a little bit. So how did I find Dr. Coelar? When my course finished in 2020, COVID hit, so I couldn't collect my data. So what happened that all the articles that I was reading about the child mass migration, all those authors that I think it was interesting or was very aligned with my, my plan, I connect with them, send emails, and I built a network of scholars and asked them if they had, data that they were willing to share with me, because I couldn't collect. We were, facing COVID. And fortunately, I found Dr. Coelar in Texas, and he told me, look, your project is pretty much interesting. What I have drawings and children's. They have a lot of elements of religiosity, spirituality, that the theme that I wanted to investigate. But those drawings are sitting here. Nobody analyzed them. So I'm willing to, if you want, I can access you to this drawing. So this is the way that I connect with those drawings. So just to clarify, I didn't have a contact with those children. I have a contact with their drawings. So after analyzing what the children's drama reveal about their life, lived experience before migrating. The depictions revealed a pleasant life experience and a sense of community shared with parents, extended family members, friends, and pets deeply connected with nature. Although the themes indicate a sense of happiness, sadness also intersected the themes by portraying memories of their ordinary lives and loved ones left behind, including deceased family members. Moving, big moving. Okay, so how are children's migration journeys depicted in the drawings? Children represented the migration journey as a hazardous experience by which they had to demonstrate survival skills to endure their journey. And traveling together was an important factor in succeeding across. Upon their arrival in the United States, they illustrated their encounters with American Border Patrol officers and their experience of being detained in cells. Often, children refer to the immigration officers as evil, since they were not allowed, in some cases, to be with their mothers. And what are the resilience depictions in the children's drawings? Children use religious and spiritual elements to convey resilience. They convey the religiosity by drawing church, crucifix, figures of Jesus, God, and angel, and writing words of religiosity as a blessing, such as blessing, gratitude, and so on. Some depictions explore the language of spirituality through words of journey, love, peace, blessing, and attitudes of gratitude. However, children also conveyed horrifying moments by portraying encounters with serpents. Several studies have found religious coping comforting during the migration journey. So, for example, Hagan in 2018 states that the role of sacred objects is to be a source of encouragement, comfort, companionship, and solace during their travel. From the risk and resilience perspective, the images of spirituality and religiosity in the drawings may suggest compensatory factors to neutralize the risks of crossing the border, along with protective factors such as parental support and social connections to promote individual attributes such as determination, courage, and self-esteem, to diminish the negative effects of the journey. So Latino children invited us to tell their stories through family, friends, pets, and nature connections. They also depicted emotional ambivalence, contrasting happy moments with nostalgia and confusion about being detained. According to the authors, that those out there I based my analysis, they are Melchior and Zalatev. Children draw their surroundings, highlight what's meaningful, and invite the audience to tell their stories. Moreover, scribbled pictures were present in these studies. The author suggests that scribbles can be a catharsis due to the stressful moments. From another perspective, another author called Steele in 1997 argued that difficult memories and emotions can be hidden from the children's conscience by choosing painting the happy picture to diminish the pain of unpleasant moments. So what are the challenges that I had to face while I was analyzing those drawings? I didn't have direct access to Latino children's voices. Second, the volunteers, they were no longer working in the project, so reaching them to ask questions or clarify information was impossible. And the third, it's worth noting that visual data is in nature broader comparative to structured interviews. So it is subjected to double cultural interference and subjectivity. Having said that, my main analysis were based on several features of the pictures, like what they drill, how they drill, and how many times they drew the elements in the pictures. I also took in consideration other compositionality of the drawing, such as color, identify the main element of the drawing and see how the children or the child distribute these elements on the paper. If they place it on these elements on the top, in the center, or the bottom of the page. I also considered the size of the figure, if this figure was depicted as a large, normal, or small. And another important aspect that was vital for my analysis was the descriptor of the drawings. Those descriptors, they were collected by the volunteers of the project. The descriptor included demographics such as age, gender, country of origin, location of the art production, description of the image produced, and the materials used to make the drawings. Also, the volunteers described the conversations they had with the children about their art production. For example, the meaning of the picture, the child's reaction during the art production, and overall observations. Of course, I use also literature to support my finds. So why drawings matter with children? Well, there are several reasons, but first, the use of arts with children allows them to tell their stories from their perspectives. Second, drawing is relatively simple and less costly compared to other methods. Third, adapted to a variety of situations such as language and communication barriers. Fourth, using drawings as a research method is particularly promised with traumatized children because of the playful aspect of creating drawings. And five, finally, from the research perspective, of course, this method is versatile in examining different study phases such as baseline, midpoint, and endpoint. So what are the implications? And here I will also make some conclusion remarks. Hearing the children's voices through the drawings enable us to advocate for their rights. For example, from the policy perspective, for instance, the Convention of the Rights of the Children's, CRC, states actions promote children's rights. The US, specifically this country because I was there, signed the convention but did not ratify it, which has enormous implications for violating the rights of the children. From a research perspective, there is a lack of study using art-based methods with these populations, and future research in applied drawings should seek to access the children's voices to help them speak about that drawings. Second, prospective investigations should consider all demographic information, include the children's education level, to better understand the pictures analysis. More studies are needed to understand faith in a social outcomes in the long term. And from the social work approach, that's my field, the research reveals that Latino children's use of faith was an essential aspect of bonding social networks, keeping their hope for a successful journey and mitigating risk factors. For this reason, a multidimensional social work approach should combine psycho, social, and spiritual resource as strategies to safeguard the overall well-being and post-traumatic recovery. So here, just an example, one of the compositionality that I use to analyze these drawings, in this case is color. You can see different drawings from different children's. One use the white paper, the other one choose to draw in a black paper. So regarding the color choice, for example, most of children choose vibrant and vivid colors to express how they sense their houses or homelands before migrating, mostly associated with nature. Differently, dark colors such as black or gray depicting the children's experience of crossing rivers and roads. Children also associate black and brown colors with detention centers and in encounters with American Border Patrol officers. Children in this study use the colors to intensify the value, and value means refers to how light or dark colors can be depicted. For example, in this example, in figure M151, participant 14 used yellow to depict the trees, and she applied the value technique of lightening and darkening the yellow color, suggesting a thorough vision of her art production. Another composition to consider is the background of the drawings, white or light and dark background, as I explained before. The white background can be associated with hope and dark background with unknown things. For example, the participant 39 here, he used the art piece, he used in this art piece the dark paper to portray a tree and moon suggest a mysterious landscape. So this is just a bit of information how I proceed with the analysis. Other important things to highlight is I use the descriptor that I explained before, and the descriptor also have information about the conversation between volunteers and the children. And this is an example in this figure, for example, figure 17. This participant, he drew his, how did he escape during this process of crossing the border. And this is the information of the volunteer. The volunteer said, he drew his art piece about crossing the border. After being held by force in a warehouse, he and a friend were let go in a remote place. Disoriented, they followed the traffic noises, which led them to the Rio Grande. Here, he begins his picture story in the top left corner. He and his friends are hiding behind bushes, preparing to cross the river on an inflated tugboat. After crossing, he travels inconspicuously through the woods. Reaching the other side, a lady watering her garden came to their aid, giving them food, water, and a phone call. Then she drove them to the Sacred Heart Church for the further assistance. So to conclude, what my hopes? Yeah, this project was complex, very huge project, and my hope in the future is that I would like to collect and create a bank of drawings of displaced of children, children displaced either by war or they are forced to migrate to another countries for persecution, climate changes, whatever. I would like to have to collect those drawings and to train people and help to understand and tell the stories about these children. So this is the two of my hopes, and put the stories and through books, make films, develop projects to promote the rights and everything that can, can spread these stories. Also, I would like, this is one of my hope, to work with multidisciplinary professionals that help to give, bring different views and frame how to work with children using art-based. And finally, I hope that academia sees art-based methods as a scientific research that is very pretty much grounded and framed, that I can analyze and put these findings in a scientific word, as I can see. If this is what this is my hope. This is my really. I think that we can, arrive at this moment. So thank you, and this is my information. You can find me on LinkedIn. You also can, if you want to understand more about this project, and you can watch the movie that I was not able to run here in this website, www.artedelagrmas.org, and you have a bunch of drawings, and they are open, to expose these drawings in the university, churches, as well, just to contact them. Okay, so I'm gonna stop here, my share, and I think, yeah, thank you. I'm sorry that I couldn't use the movie.
Oh, so sorry about that. And I wasn't much use, with getting the audio to play as well. So, but
Yeah.
but thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
I've got a few general questions. I hope you don't mind. I'm thinking of the hostility that is currently in the United States towards people who are moving from Central America uh, through those convoys. Where are the people coming from? Which countries?
They come from El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico, Honduras. But I know there are people come from even from Brazil. There are people come from China, and I heard also Indians are going to Mexico, and through Mexico they try to enter in the United States via southern border. Yeah.
Mm.
So, but basically they are Central American children.
Mm. And do you have a sense how long the journeys are taking?
They say they take usually 15 days to 1 month. It depends on how bad the trajectory, the journey it is, but they say around 15, 20 days, something like that. It could be longer because they cross desert, and desert is pretty much harsh and difficult. And also they hired coyotes, and those coyotes are the people who knows how to navigate in the desert. So so that's why the journey, doesn't take too long because they are at the hands of those people. They don't take this journey alone by themselves. They hire those people, which means that the situation in their country are so bad, they sell the less that they have to pay the coyotes and try to enter the United States and, to pursue a better life and a better education, or to have a family reunification, because many of them, they have already families living in the United States.
And what's happening along those routes?
It's very bad. It's very bad because they make this journey by foot. They don't have money, and the money they have, they can buy bus ticket, or they can take, a ride in a car. But many of them also, they take trains. There is a train called, they name it the La Bestia, is the Avio. So they go over the train. And this is a very dangerous way to travel because they go over and they are subjects to accidents, to fall, and they are exploited by those people. They are traveling. They know that the immigrants are in this train, so they exploit these people, charge money, or even kidnap them. It's very complicated because it's desert, they don't have water, they have lack of food. But what happened is in that area, there is a big community, churches that help those people with water, shower, toiletries or something like that, food, to give them energy and hope to keep going. So there are some encounters during the process that help them also.
And what's happening at the US-Mexico border itself?
Now, yesterday I saw the President Biden close the border, and they're trying to mitigate the entry because the number never, decreases, always increasing. So they arrived at the border and asked asylum, but the numbers are so big, and the American authorities cannot take all of them, and this is one of the reasons the process takes too long. This is one thing. The other thing is children. They needed to verify if those children are victims of trafficking. So they needed to process those children. But basically, after this process, they are put in a cells, in the immigration detention center, something like that, and they. In theory, they have to be the maximum 20 days in these detention centers, but can take longer, 30 days or more. Depends on the volume of the people, Yeah.
You said that at the US-Mexico border, the US cannot take all of them. Is it that it cannot or it will not?
They cannot, yeah. What I'm saying, there are so many that they don't have a structure enough to process all of them. This is one thing. The other thing is we know that some states are rejecting those people and try to, okay, they are not going to be in Texas because they entered through Texas. So I want those people to go to elsewhere, and but they have to follow the process. And after following this process, the authority says, okay, those people can go to Michigan, Kentucky, California, and they try to distribute those people, but this is what we hear every day in the news, that the immigration policy over there they trying to fix it, but they say that it's broken. They cannot, process all of those people.
Oh. And just thinking of the countries where the people are from, and also, the relationship that the US has with those countries, do you think there are other things that can be done that can contribute to lessening the pressure at the border?
I know that there are things between those countries that contributed to this mass migration, and one of the things is drug cartel. There's a big business in terms of drugs, and we know that in Latin America, in the Central America specifically, those drug cartels, they take over of the country. They are, in politics, they are running the show. Yeah. So and this situation, I'm gonna say, became so unbearable for those poor population specifically because the cartel try to attract the young people to work with them, especially children. So it's very common that boys, they are target to be part of this business. and girls as well. So what happened with the family and the children don't want, they are persecuted. And the persecution is quite serious because they are threatened. They are assassinations. They are a bunch of things that bring their lives to miserable. A lot of the children also, they have to drop school because, the cartels is there in their school trying to recruit those children. So many of the children, they are forced to drop the school. So this is one of the reasons that the family cannot see a bright future because they are not in school and surrounded by these situations and have a family already living in America. So they are forced to go there and looking and seeking for a better future for them.
And would you also say that the history of U.S. interference, in politics and also in the economies of Central American countries contributes to what's happening at present?
Yeah, as I told you, there is a business behind of this, black business, as I'm explaining to you, and this was the forced them. The consequences of this black business forced the population to flee because in these countries, specifically those that I studied, children from Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, the policy and the politicians are unable to protect the citizen. So the citizens feel unprotected, feel that they are not heard when they seek, police because the drug guys are persecuting the family. The police cannot do anything because they are involved with this business as well. So the family doesn't have another option. Those family doesn't have another option. So they start to think, if I stay here, I'm gonna die, or my children will not have any future. So they prefer to take the risk.
And then the young people and the children get into the U.S. and they are released in detention. What happens?
Inside the detention?
After they've been released, what happens to them?
After. Yeah, they are released and they are taken to the bus station, and they allow it to take the bus to go to elsewhere in the United States to meet their families. And many of them, those families that are already living in the United States, many of them are illegal. They don't have the papers, the green card, or whatever it is to live in the United States. So many of these children, they don't like to, to expose themselves, so they are hidden. So it's very difficult after the children are released from detention center to have a contact with them because they don't want to be found, because they are still in this process of legalization that may can get or not, we don't know. And those families, there are many families that live already there for years and they don't have any legal status. They are also subject to be deported. So they don't want to, to be found, and somebody else in the family can be deported because, the immigration authorities find out that the whole family or some of them are illegals and they are forced to leave the country. So they pretty much, they are under the law, no? How can I say that? Yeah.
Must be, very difficult.
Yeah, that's very, very difficult. Children can go to school though, even without paper. But there are certain moment they need this certification, the authorization to live it, to progress in their lives. And that is a hurdle, because as I told you, the immigration policy, the American immigration policy seems to be broken. So they're trying to fix it. To process each one can take a long journey, a long, I can say years, 10 years, something like that. So, but the life is needed to go on. Yeah.
Looking at this, a part of me is tempted to believe that this is actually states creating an underclass, and that is deliberate because it serves capitalism.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think you were right. Yeah, I think you are right. Yeah, there's something that I have to confess, I don't know exactly, but yeah, I think there are something that is deliberated to be keep going this process, the mass migration in Central America is not new. It's not new. In 70s and 80s, because of the political stuff in Central America, they forced those people to flee. They were pretty much political refugees because of the authoritarian regime, so they were forced. But in 2014, we see a different, uh, there is something different was going on, because in the past, in the 70s and the 80s, it was pretty much adults searching for refuge in the United States, or those that were going to the United States for working. But in 2013, 14, we started to see children and families come together. And that was a flag, a red flag. And then they could figure out that was those drugs cartel that was playing a huge role in forced those people to migrate.
Mm. I don't know if anyone has got questions for Dorothy. So just, if you've got a question, please unmute and just put your question to Dorothy. In your view, I mean, like, okay, supposing if it happens, supposing it happens, how would you, if you were in a position to influence, especially U.S. immigration policy, what would you advise them?
To influence the politicians?
Yeah, like if you could influence U.S. immigration policy, what would you advise them?
That's a good question. It's a very bold, as I told at the beginning, I'm a storyteller. I'm trying to tell the children stories about the experience of forced migration. I don't know if you guys notice, they have, despite the poverty, despite the lack of things they have there in their country, they highlighted a happy life, a lot of nature, a lot of connections with animals. And from the children perspective, they were happy. They didn't want to live, the journey of crossing is pretty much hard. And for children, it's something meaningful, that will mark them forever. And I think this story, connecting those, they are fleeing not because they wanted, they were, if they had the conditions in their countries, education, jobs, and they would keep there, they would live there. But there are some situations that is happening that force those peoples, and that story that I want to bring up. So if this story can, touch a politician, great, and my question is how to it's the same question you did for me, how to touch them, uh, uh, children's story, people tend not to hear because they are children, they are not aware. No, they are aware, they are pretty much aware what's going on, but they have their perspectives, you know this is one thing. The other thing, as I told you, is there is this law that guarantee the rights of the children, CRC, that the United States, they sign it, but they didn't ratify it. So it's a big open door to violate their rights. So probably this is also another door to touch them, touch them, as I'm telling you, through the children's stories. Many of them, they didn't understand why they were in cells. Many of those children, they didn't understand because why they were not allowed to watch the TV, simple things, or to call his mother or the family, And so they are the children perspective. They don't understand what's going on. It's something that big people, they are doing this mess. The children, they don't understand that. They don't capture yet those things.
And just thinking about the arts, like with the children's drawings, the drawings, tell the story, give a sense of how the children understand, their journey, pre-migration, during migration, and post-migration. But would you say there are things that artists in general can do?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are those? What do you think artists and the arts can do around forced migration?
Arts can give voices to those are silenced. And, they are silenced because the system, it's very oppressive. They don't have voices. The countries tend to hide them. They are not welcome, so they don't have voice. So the arts are the avenue to open and to bring them to the floor, in a beautiful way, in a colorful way, in a poetical way, and say, hey, I exist, I'm not invisible. And this is the reasons that I'm doing this. This is my dream. This is the what I'm looking for. And I think the art is very powerful in doing that. This is one thing, to give a voice. The other thing is to connect with community and to engage with them and trying to communicate and see the situation together, And I think this is the most important, to engage the community. Yeah? I know there are some people doing arts in Mexico and, painting in the walls. They are very much in a public screening, that everybody's driving their car, passing by. They're gonna see the art doing by refugees or artistic refugees, something like that. And I remember that I asked it to this person, what's the community reaction? Yeah, because I think it is the most important thing, because people don't understand what's happening with mass migration, and they need to understand that. They need to engage in conversation. They needed to ask questions, and the refugee also, they needed to put their voice and they say, "This is the situation, and we needed to fix it." Well, we needed to, um, yeah, and the other thing I think is most it's powerful, especially children's victims of war, is a way to work the traumas. And art is very powerful in this sense, because children may be silent in front of you, but if you show up with paper and crayons and something colorful, they start slowly, open up, and maybe something that they cannot express verbally, but they can express artistically. And then we need the professionals to understand that. We need people, artists that, to facilitate this dialogue, to facilitate this input, which they cannot verbalize, but they can draw, they can dream. So English.
Yeah. And I think you at the beginning you mentioned that you are connected with Brazil. You are in Brazil right now, but are also connected with
Yeah.
Germany and the US. What do you see happening around?
Rosie, this is a very good question, because when I explain and brief explain about myself, I change completely my professional life, because I have an encounters with refugee families, and I feel that I have a mission, At the time when I have the encounters with the family, it was in 2013, 14 was the upset of the mass migration in America. And I think also the Syrian war was also very bad that moment. And look at those people, look their eyes. And I have a connect with Syrian refugees. I have a connect with refugees from Sudan, and they are different at that time. They were very different. When the Syrian was very, exciting and happy, and I remember children wanted to engage with me, and I remember families, adults, they wanted to show me pictures, the things that they knew what to do. They were carpenter, for example. Sudan refugees were opposite. They were completely silence. They were terrified, and you could see how much trauma they had in their eyes. And we know that there is a war going on there forever, So you could see a lot of trauma in there. So at that moment, I said to myself, I need to understand those people. I need to engage with them. And I am from Brazil, and here in Brazil, we don't have this mass migration yet, like in America and Europe. But we have an example with Venezuela. Venezuela broke it, we know, everybody knows, and millions of Venezuelans came into Brazil, and in other countries in Latin America also. So we experienced the first mass migration with Venezuelans. But I know there are a lot of refugees here, but the number is not that big like in America. In America, everybody knows, it's a big pot of refugees. And in Germany, also, I'm seeing a lot of refugees over there. But I don't have really contact, which I'm trying. I'm trying to engage with, organizations and non-profit organizations that work with this population. This is one of my goals. Yeah.
Mm.
But
And
I have a sense that the mass migration, the way that is going on right now, it's worldwide. It's not particularly in some places. It's something that will going on. It will not stop. Especially now, if climate change. We have in Brazil, in the south of Brazil, a big flood that it was brought tremendous, destructions, and a lot of Brazilian people are displaced. Now we have displaced people, uh, caused by climate change, and something that is happening in the world,
mm,
unfortunately.
mm. How did Brazil deal with Venezuelan migrants, people from Venezuela?
Um,
How did it respond?
it's Yeah, it's something new. They try to receive those people, to welcome them. But Brazil also face problems. We have problems of a job. We don't have a good health system for everybody, and even the refugees, they notice that and they say, okay, I'm going to another place, and they try to keep going to other place that they perhaps they can see better opportunity. And so I heard, this is not something that I was in touch, but I heard that many refugees, they stay here for a moment, but they keep going, searching for better future elsewhere. So many of them try to enter in the United States or go to the Europe, you know. And I know that in Chile as well, I think in Bolivia, they try to, there is a huge population from Venezuela, they also enter in there.
Mm. And would you also say that that racism plays a part in how our states, both Brazil and the US, are responding to refugee
Differently.
issues?
How they respond?
Mm. Would you say that racism plays a part?
Racism.
Yeah.
Yeah, racism. Okay. Oh, there are racism in those places. In Brazil, there is a structural racism. It's not like in America, they're very evident. I lived in America for 10 years, and it's pretty much it's an open racism. In Brazil, it's a different, it's something that is embedded in the institutions, in the structure, which is you can perceive this when you are in a job searching, when you wanted to ladder the, success and those kinds of things. Also, you can see in Brazil, most of the population that are, in the bottom of the society, they are African Brazilians or indigenous Brazilians or people of color. The most of them are at the bottom, and the white Brazilians are at the top. You know, I myself, I am in Brazil. The thing is in Brazil that everything is mixed. So myself, I am. My father was Japanese. My mom is Brazilian, who descends from indigenous people and from Africans, from slavery, because we have a slavery history in Brazil. So those are my roots. And I learned, but I was raised in Latin culture, which is completely different from the Americas, So I learned in my trajectories of my ancestors when I was school. So was my first contact with refugees, I would say, So it for me was pretty much difficult also to navigate in Brazil because, you know, I'm not totally white, you know, and I have a mixed races in my blood, and yeah, I encounter some difficulties here. But it's a blind, there is a, you know, blind racism that people don't like to talk about, but it's happening. Yeah.
So I'm just so that as we maybe went down and we also, you know, look into the future or look to the future, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, what would you like to see? What changes would you like to see around, you know, these unaccompanied minors, children who are looking for refuge, and also around the whole refugee situation
Yeah.
that the world is facing?
One of those factors that, you know, hit me badly when I see refugee children, because this is a lost generation if we don't do anything. And they spend years in refugee camps, and they cannot go to school. I know there are some refugee camps, they have a basic school, but when I'm talking about schooling, you know, it's going to school, graduate and pursuing, you know, the after, you know, college, doing something. I see many refugees, children, is pretty, so intelligent, so smart. They speak several languages, you know, and those people are sitting there, you know, and I feel that they wanted to contribute to the society because they have so many things to bring in on the table, you know. So what I would like to see, this is your questions, I would like it to put those intelligent people, the smart people with their culture background, with the language skills they have, you know, and bring on the table and put it in all the industries. You work it together to, you know, to create a better earth for everybody because they have a lot to contribute. And that hit me a lot when the system and want to silence them. So I would like to bring those people on the table.
And this is my absolute last question. Right. So in all that we've talked about and in all that we've said, are there things that you would like to add, emphasize, or stress? And we end on that note.
This is it's everything that I told. I think everybody, you know, all of us should try to understand the refugee population, despite the cultural background, despite where they are from, and we are just discussing refugees. We are not talking about people that are stateless. They don't belong to anywhere, so they are pretty much ghosts on the earth. They don't have nationality. Those people also I have an interest in to work with them. You know, I think each of us, they should at minimum trying to understand those people, the reasons they are fleeing, what's going on in their countries. You know, it's a bit of educate themselves, what's going on. And once you are interact refugee, you know, bring them, you know, offer a job, you know, bring to the school, talk to them, invite for I don't know, a discussion section as you do here. I think it's so cool. Um, um, but they have things to tell us. And this is what I'm curious about children, because I want to hear them. I think this is my perception, something that we are missing. We are missing as a human being, because children has message, and we were educated not to hear too much children, because children, yeah, they are in a fantasy, yeah, they want to play, yeah, they are in a fantasy, they want to play, but they have messages. Yeah, and I think we are not really, open for that. But we have to educate our ears, our, perceptions, to try to capture the message. And I think childrens are bringing a lot of message to us. This for sure. I'm so sure about that. You know, yeah. So
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Dorothy Sato.
thank you.
Dorothy has a background in psychology and has worked in organizations as a human resources professional in different
Yeah, in the
industries. Yes, and she's been working with Latino children crossing the US-Mexican border, looking at the intersection of their journey with religiosity and spirituality as depicted through children's drawings. Thank you very much for joining us for
Thank
this
you.
session.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk here, and a pleasure to know your work. It's wonderful. I hope we can be in touch.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. So the next conversation that we are going to have as part of this series is taking place on the 13th of June from 6 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. UK time, where Kate Duffy Saedi of Phosphorus Theatre and Anna Feifa Quiros from the University of Ottawa will be joining us for conversation around theatre, solidarity, connection, and deep listening. So on that note, I say thank you and see you again next time.
Thank you. Bye.